In this module, we are going to talk about how to use the prospect's pain points in order to generate leads and sell more. And the concept of pain points is something that I started to learn more about at the midpoint of my career when I worked for a company called BMC Software. At the time, I sold IT management software. So if you think of software that manages data centers, servers, applications, and the products that I sold were really good and they helped in many ways and they solved many different problems and pain points. And the company did something that I thought was really interesting, which is they brought in an outside sales training company to provide a 2-day sales training workshop. And I found this sales training to be fascinating because up until that point, I had been through a lot of different training programs, but most of the training I had received is what I would consider to be more product training, where the training primarily focuses on teaching you about the product that you are trying to sell. But this training program was different in that it focused a lot more on pain points, and that instead of going out and talking about your product, get the prospect talking about their pain points, and then you introduce your product as a solution to those problems or those concerns. And I found this to be fascinating for many different reasons, but one reason in particular was that I was working in more of a hunting role at the time, and I had already experienced the challenge that when you're doing cold prospecting and reaching out to prospects that you don't have an existing relationship with, you can't just call them up and talk about the product you sell. So when I heard about this different approach, I thought this is great, and I can't wait to get back to my desk and call up my list of prospects and get them talking about their pain points. But when I got back to my desk and tried calling prospects, I realized pretty quickly that I don't know what to say and ask in order to get prospects to share the challenges they're having. And I realized pretty quickly that there was a gap there with what the training provided, because it's great that they taught me about the concept of pain points and set me in the direction to go look for the prospect's pain points, but they didn't tell me what to say and ask in order to uncover the challenges that the prospect is having. And it's actually understandable that the training company didn't tell me what to say and ask, because I sold a lot of different products and each product solves different pain points, and the training company doesn't have expertise in all of the different products I sell. And this gap is actually something that we help to fill, because we provide you with a step-by-step sales message brainstorming process that will help you to identify the key talking points and questions for your product or service. And one of the main steps of this process is to identify the pain points your product or service helps with. And once you identify those, it's much more clear what you need to say and ask and what you need to talk about when you get engaged and connected with prospects. And where we left off in the last video was that we created an optimized value proposition for your product or service. And now what we're going to do is we are going to create an optimized set of pain points that you should be looking for and talking about. And this process actually starts to get a lot easier at this point, because here's the trick. What we can do is we can actually bring back the value points and value proposition we created on the last step, and we can use those points to create an optimized set of pain points very easily. And that's because there is a yin and a yang relationship between the improvements we deliver and the pain points we help to solve. And what I mean by that is that if we identify a set of improvements our product or service can deliver, for each improvement, there is an opposite problem or challenge that we either make go away or that we help the prospect to avoid. And with that, we can very easily look at each point and ask ourselves, for that improvement, is there an opposite problem that's resolved or goes away? So we can go through each of the improvements we created and then really quickly create a set of opposite pain points. And so here are pain points that are the opposite of the improvements that our web design services delivers to small businesses. So if you remember on the last video, we basically identified that we help small businesses to basically get their websites looking better, performing better. So the opposite of that is that a small business may have a website that doesn't look good and isn't getting a lot of traffic and isn't converting and isn't generating enough revenue. And without looking at each of those individual points too much, the main point here is that those points are the opposite of the improvements we created on the last step. And if we created a good list of improvements on the last step that are aligned with the target audience that we're communicating with, then this step will help us to also create a good list of pain points that are aligned with the target audience that we're trying to communicate with, that we're trying to grab their attention, and that we're trying to sell to. And that is as far as we're going to go in our sales message brainstorming process in this video. In the next video, we will move on to the next step, and that is where we will create an optimized set of questions to ask for your product or service. But with what we've created here in this step, we basically have created our pain points building block, and I can actually show you what you can create and use with that building block. For example, we can use our pain points as a cold call opener. So instead of opening with your product by saying something like, "We provide web design services, are you looking to redo your website?" you can instead share the pain points that you help to solve by saying something like, "The reason for the call is a lot of businesses we work with, they often need to generate more revenue and leads through their website, and they have an issue with their website not looking good and not being effective at telling their story. I don't know if you're concerned about those areas, but that's why I was calling with a question or two." We can also use your pain points to create a cold email. So instead of sending a product-focused cold email that says, "I sell web design services, are you looking to update or redo your website?" you can send a cold email that talks about the pain points your product or service helps to fix by saying something like, "A lot of businesses we work with have challenges with pain point 1, pain point 2, pain point 3. I don't know if you're concerned about those areas, and that's why I'm reaching out. Are you available for a brief call?" We can also use your pain points for a voicemail message. "Hey, Tom, this is Michael Halper calling from Web Pros. A lot of businesses we work with have challenges with pain point 1, pain 2, pain 3. I don't know if you're concerned about those areas, and that's why I'm reaching out. I'll try you again next week." We can also use our pain points as an introduction. So if we're networking or introducing ourselves, when someone says, "Well, what do you do?" instead of saying, "Oh, I sell web design services," you can say something like this: "A lot of businesses we work with, they have challenges with needing to generate more revenue and leads through their website, and we basically help to solve those problems and challenges." And of course, that might not completely explain what you do, and you could then transition to share more details around the product or service you sell. But these talking points give you a way to make your introduction not only much more sophisticated, but more interesting and provide more information to the person you're introducing yourself to. We can also use your pain points for objection responses to many different objections. When the prospect says, "No, thank you, I'm not interested," or "We don't need to make any changes right now," or "We don't have any budget right now," you can respond to those and many other objections with your pain points by saying something like, "Oh, I understand. But actually, a lot of businesses we work with, they often have challenges with needing to generate more revenue and leads through their website. Are you concerned about that at all?" We can also use your pain points in the middle of your cold call script or cold call outline. And if you go back to my experience of being a salesperson and not knowing how to drive conversations towards the prospect's pain points, this cold call outline can completely solve that problem, because after we open the cold call, we might ask some of our pain questions. And we haven't talked about pain questions yet. We will talk about those in the next video and and show you how to create those for your product or service. But asking pain questions will help you to identify if the prospect has pain points in the area where your product or service helps. And you might ask those, and the prospect responds that everything's okay. And then you could transition to ask some of your current state questions. We will talk about those also in the next training video. But asking questions to learn more about what the prospect is currently doing in the area where your product or service fits can certainly uncover any needs or challenges or pain points on the prospect side. But if you ask all of your questions and all the answers you get back are the prospect saying, we're doing good, everything's fine, we don't need anything right now, then what you could do is you could transition to your pain points as sort of a fallback position, a last-ditch thing to say before you walk away. And you can do that by saying something like, oh, well, sounds like you guys are doing pretty good over there. One last question. A lot of businesses we work with, they are struggling to find ways to increase the leads and revenue they generate from their website. Are you saying you guys are doing good in all those areas, or do you have any concerns about those areas in particular? And so what I'm doing there is that I first try to uncover needs or challenges or pain points by asking questions. If those don't come back with any answers that are good in terms of giving me something to work with, then I'm just going to tell the prospect the problems that I help to solve and check with them to make sure that they don't have any of those problems. Now, certainly you can have a prospect that basically lies to you with all of your different questions, but at this point, you can start to walk away and be confident that you did everything you could to try to identify a reason to talk more with the prospect. And if you want help going through this process, we actually have an AI tool that will create all of this for you in a matter of seconds. Our software of Sales Scripter actually aligns with that sales message brainstorming process that we are working our way through. And you can go through each of these steps and put in your answers as to what are your benefits and what are your pain points. But our software includes AI tools where all you have to do is enter the product or service you sell. And for demo purposes, I'll just do IT consulting. And then you can specify the target audience you're communicating with, and I'll put manufacturers just to show you a specific target audience. And if I click start, what's going to happen is our software is going to communicate actually with ChatGPT, and it's going to go through each step of our sales message brainstorming process, and ChatGPT is going to create all of the talking points and questions for the product and service that we put in, targeting that particular audience to create features, differentiation, benefits, pain points, pain questions, and current state questions. So in a matter of seconds, we've just created our sales message. And pertaining to this training module, that includes our pain points and our pain questions. So this message is going to greatly improve our ability to drive conversations and calls and emails towards the prospect's pain points. And here's a cold call script, pain intro. And this script basically opens with the pain points and drives the call to pain questions. And so your homework between now and the next training module is simply to brainstorm and create 3 to 6 pain points for your product or service. And that is pretty much it. In the next module, we will continue to move on to the next step of our sales message brainstorming process and help you to create an optimized set of questions to ask for your product or service. If you found this to be helpful in any way and you want to return the favor, very easy to do. All you have to do is like, comment, share this video, subscribe to our channel. Any of those help us, and none of those cost you anything. If you have questions or you want more information, the best place to go is salescripter.com. Thanks for being here. Hope this was helpful, and we look forward to seeing you on the next video. Have a great day. Take care. Bye.